following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
This is the Players Lounge, broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Barry Church, Anthony Dorsett, DeMontre Moore, and Newy Scruggs.
Here we are. It is the postseason edition of the Players Lounge right here on DallasCowboys.com. Anthony Dorsett is here in the house. We've got DeMontre Moore here. I'm Newy Scruggs. Barry Church is out vacationing. When the Cowboys ain't playing in the playoffs, Barry Church ain't got time for it. And I get it. I ain't mad at you, Barry Church. Just get on that Shad Khan yacht and let me know how it is. They put that thing on Instagram, social media yesterday. That yacht is tremendous.
I gotta see it. Why y'all didn't post it in the chat?
It is unbelievable because I just said Barry. I need Barry to do it because I want to know if Barry's actually went on to since he was
Church he don't keep up with nothing.
He got a room on that yacht.
Man, Barry said I got my money and I was gone.
All right, we'll dive into the Cowboys, but some NFL news happening here. Coach Soul is out in Miami. Mike McDaniel fired by the Dolphins. 4 years, 35-33 record, second straight losing season. He's 42 years old. He's back on the market. This is a surprise to no one. Benched Tua Tagovailoa. His quarterback went with Quinn Ewers. That went nowhere. So now there is another job opening.
Yeah.
Man.
A lot of jobs out here.
25% of the league been fired as head coaches. 25% of the league.
25%.
25%, man.
It's a BOGO sale. Everything must go. Man, that is unfortunate, but
we're seeing coaches it was a point in time I remember when I was younger, coaches would get a job and they may have, as we say, a longer leash than some of these coaches are getting. But guys are getting 1 year. They one and done. It's like kids going to play basketball now. You get 1 year and then you out of there. I know for a fact we both understand Pete Carroll. Coach Carroll was a younger coach. An older coach, but of course, just with his history behind him and everything that went with him, you would think that maybe he might got at least another year out there. But just like you said, Coach Soul, 25% of the league now. This is a trend at this point right now.
But it's always this. Every year we're seeing massive turnover in the league. This is just a part of it now. This happens. Yeah. Look, last year was New Orleans moving on. The Cowboys moved on last year. This is the league. It's going to happen. You're going to have 5+ coaches a year getting gone. The Giants, and some of these I look at the Giants. Should have moved on from Dayball last year. We're watching some of these teams go too late. The Cowboys, I think the Cowboys went too late.
Yeah.
You think the Cowboys went too late?
So after that whole debacle in the playoffs with McCarthy.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry kept him, and he had 1 year left on the contract. Well, he didn't want to extend it. And so you guys have been players, everybody understand when the coach on the last year and then the assistants know they're on the last year, you got guys, hey, man, I need to keep the rent house going and where the kid's going to be. There's a lot of tension going on. And then the Cowboys going to win 7 games. So it wasn't good. So if you weren't sold on it, then you needed to go get sold on someone else. The Giants came back with that same old thing. Well, we're going to bring back the GM, we're back the head coach. Didn't look what happened, man. Thing got. So it's now they're out here searching. So we got Atlanta's looking for a head coach, Giants looking for a head coach, the Raiders, the Ravens, the Cardinals, Tennessee. Now you got Miami, man.
Miami too.
And one thing about it is this: the names that you hear coming up for these coaching jobs. Okay, like Jason Garrett up here now, Mike McCarthy. It's one of these things where as this coaching carousel begins, it's like the same people keep getting back on the ride. They get put off over here. They fall off the thing over here. Then they jump back on the thing, and they back over here. If it's not as a head coach, they go back to being a coordinator somewhere.
Some of those guys deserve to be coordinators from just their lineage, and just some of them honestly are better coordinators. Everybody that's a good coordinator is not a good head coach, and vice versa. Everybody that's a good head coach might not have been the best of coordinators. And I think about Coach Soul when you mentioned him from my tenure playing with the 49ers, and he was there. He was a player's coach. The guys galvanized behind him. He is smart, and his offensive paralysis, learning under Kyle Shanahan, I think he would be a better coordinator right now. Maybe come back and give it it a shot later on. Just like some of these other guys you see are out here. Nagy's out here about to. I forgot. I seen him up for a few interviews. And then I agree with your statement that you said earlier about Pete Carroll. Like, I think that was one of the places that should have kept their coach, because it takes a minute to build a culture. You can't just say, especially in an organization like that, from all the things that you have seen. But then there are some guys that have been there, like you said, Coach Soule's been there and been having a losing record this whole time, and his tenure there. And sometimes you got to go to get a new start. So
okay, so I'll say this, Anthony. When you mention some of the names you're mentioning, some of the resumes do warrant a second look. Mm-hmm. Jason Garrett was a coach of the year. Now, I have my own issues with him here. I didn't think he was successful at all. I thought they wasted 10 years with Jason, but that was just me. Mm-hmm. But the opportunity when I see some other guys getting a job, like Callahan, when he got a job in Tennessee, okay, fine, Jason can get one. Mike McCarthy, he has won a Super Bowl. We saw Wade Phillips get 3 different head coaching opportunities. Norv Turner had 3 different head coaching opportunities. Chip Kelly had 2 opportunities. What's the dude? Eric Mangini had 2 of them. Now, and I come into this.
It goes back to what he said about some dudes just better coordinators than head coaches.
Guys who've had second chances. Mike Shanahan. People forget Al Davis hired Mike Shanahan, very young. Ends up going to the Denver Broncos later on after a stint with San Francisco, wins 2 Super Bowls, arguably is a Hall of Fame head coach. Mm-hmm. Marty Schottenheimer, he was in Cleveland. Marty had great years in Kansas City, fantastic in San Diego. Marv Levy, fired by Kansas City, goes to Buffalo, goes to 4 Super Bowls, becomes a Hall of Famer. Wow. Don Shula's second team was Miami. He was the head coach of the Baltimore Colts when they got beat by Joe Namath and the Jets, Super Bowl III. People forget that. Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy was run out of Tampa Bay and goes to the Colts, wins a Super Bowl. Bill Belichick.
Add Pete to that.
I was there in Cleveland when Belichick got run off, and we saw what he's done. And then you talk about Pete. Pete's 3rd NFL job was Seattle, because he was with the Jets, then he was with New England, and then you kind of think about what happened to him in New England. He replaced Parcells, gets fired, then got replaced by Belichick.
Yeah.
He just got put into a wrong spot. So you can lose your job and be okay. You can be on your 3rd job and maybe get it depending on – Joe Torre was on his 3rd job managing with the Yankees. Okay. The whole headline in New York said, "Say it ain't Joe." When they hired him, man. So I think it really does depend on who's the coach. What is your plan to be better?
Yeah. That's the main.
That's what you got to get to.
That's what you got to get to.
You tell me what went wrong in the last job. Oh, by the way, who were you working with?
Right.
Because Mike Shanahan isn't, man. I work with Al Davis. And guess what I found out real quick? Al ain't let me do what I want to do. Al hired me, but Al wanted to put in all the personnel, and he called down to tell me what to do. You know how Al was. Mm-hmm. So that.
And that's why a lot of these guys, I understand it's a carousel. Some of these carousels are in their right to be at that seat, and then there's some where you're like, nah, you don't deserve that seat. But I think about a guy like Eberflus. He just got let go, even though he didn't have a good year here. Every defense that he's been associated with before then has been a top 10 or 11 defense. It was the defense.
And there's reasons behind that
defense,
too, though.
No, you can't say there's reasons behind it. Why
the only
he was
time
there.
He had a top 10 defense is when the
I said top 10. I said top 10 or around there.
And I don't want to debate this with you, but the strength of schedule for that team was like they had one of the worst schedules, one of the softest schedules.
Nope.
So when you put it together, he might have had a top defense against playing the easiest schedule in the NFL.
But he had it multiple years back to back. He had a top 10 defense that he took from the bottom of the league when it was at the Bears. He started there. When he left there, they were in the top 10. And then you had, when you were at the Colts, they started at the bottom of the defense when he got there. Mm-hmm. And when they left, they were top 10 again. That was the reason why he got the head coaching job. So his past resume bills for him.
Here's what I'll be interested in for when you bring that about Eberflus. And there's a guy that comes to my head, this Vic Fangio. When the Colts fired Jim Mora, they told him to fire Vic Fangio. And Jim didn't want to do it. No, not firing Fangio. So Jim got fired. And over the years, what have we seen? Vic Fangio, who's defensive coordinator for the Eagles last year, won a Super Bowl. Vic Fangio's been good. So is Matt Eberflus going to be that guy? Time will tell. Right now, I wouldn't bet on it. That's just me. And obviously you've been around him, you've coached him, and you believe he can. But that'll be interesting. I would be very surprised if somebody brings Matt Eberflus in to be their defensive coordinator next year, considering what happened with Dallas this year and then what happened with the Bears last year as the head coach. The Bears are now a division champion. Yes. And the Cowboys are sitting here talking about one of the worst years they've had in franchise history on defense. And, of course, yesterday's press conference, turning into this, was Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones, and head coach Brian Schottenheimer talking about what they wanted in a coordinator. And it just did not look good for Eberflus by what they were saying. They were looking, we want a teacher. We want somebody who's going to coach to the players we have. They mentioned the players that they did have. Hey, we've got Kenny Clark. We've got Quinnen Williams. We've got Osa. We need somebody to coach to that. We've got Damarian Overshown, who we like. They did admit they need to get better at linebacker. They need to be better at secondary. Jerry admitted he was 100% wrong in what he thought about Jordan Lewis at the slot, that he didn't take him serious, that he didn't take what he brought to the game enough, that he overvalued what he thought Bland could do, thought Bland could just slide in here to the slot. So he admitted they made mistakes, which we talk about right here on the Players Lounge a whole lot. They overvalue their talent. Totally
undervalue the wrong ones and let them get away.
So now they need to go out here and find a coordinator.
I'm not trying to beat a dead horse, but Demontre, everything you said about Eberflus, and I got some information here from the Matrix Edge, and I think I shared that amongst the group. He's never been that guy that you said he has been. And I mean the proof is it's in black and white here. Now what it has been is he's been part of teams that have been okay, but he's never been a leading defensive coordinator in any category. And then in everything that he's basically done in coming here, he's been worse than Zimmer. So
what was his defense rank when he got to the Colts?
So when he was with the Colts, and we don't have the time to go through it, but I'll share this with you, and then we can break it down. I feel like
we do. It's about the Cowboys, is it not?
No. But I don't have the time to read this thing and just to pick through it. Okay. But like I said before, the only reason that defense was as good as it was because part of it was their strength of schedule, and then who he had on that defense as well. He had a young, what was the linebacker at that time? Shaq Leonard. The young Leonard kid, and then right behind that he got Buckner. He got Buckner right behind it. Right, so
that was everything that I.
There's some factors in there that go along with it. Is plus with that strength of schedule. But I'm gonna send this to you, and you just.
You can send it to me, and I'll leave it here. It's the same. I posted the numbers of what they started and the significant improvement that they had. Just like I stated when he came here, and I said, hey, the reason that I think he will be good is regardless if you're a defensive coordinator, it doesn't matter if the tools that you got, the schematics that you got. There are some coaches that, hey, their scheme is just that good. For example, Kyle Shanahan is one of those guys that have developed players, and then there's some coaches that really have inherited good players, and they're banking off of that. Well, you can't get mad at him for having a DeForest Buckner, a Shaq Leonard, a Zaire Blackman that was there. Because, no, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying he took that defense and improved them by the people he brought in, just like with Roquan Smith and the people that he did. Even though Chicago as a team was the defense was statistically they were in the middle of the pack or in the top half. So I mean, that's tools and all that, and then that comes back into play of what you said earlier. When these coaches get in this carousel and they start hiring people, they say, hey, what's going to go in there? Another guy that I think of who's been getting so much flack this year, Stefanski. The fact that he has I think I've seen his name listed at least on 3 different head coaching jobs that are like really serious on him. And it's like, hey, after the year, after the negativity, well, people forget at the Browns that, you know, what you did in the past. And sometimes your resume, they're going to say, hey, was it because of the organization? Was it because of the tools? And just like with Eberflus, there's some coaches that we look at and we say, hey, why did they get that job? Why did they constantly get hired? Or why are they constantly getting those interviews? Regardless of why they're getting them, they're still one of those guys, and Eberflus is a guy like that.
Clearly they missed. The Cowboys thought, okay, here's a guy that's been in the building. We like him. He was never the coordinator here. He was a part of some of the decision-making, but they totally missed. Mm-hmm. And they can't miss again. They just cannot miss again. Jerry talked about how we are probably going to keep skewing heavily on the offense because they want to make sure they take advantage of Dak Prescott and his contract and his years here. So that means whoever they bring in, they got to be confident in. That coach has got to get the players to buy in. Clearly, when you listen to them, there was an issue there about making sure the system fit what these guys needed to do best and teaching it, and there had to be a buy-in. We saw that with Dan Quinn when he was here. We did not see that with Mike Nolan when he was here.
Yeah.
So somewhere along the way, this becomes where management has got to get on point with the head coach and the defensive coordinator to get this thing correct.
Big fact.
Because we've now seen, okay, Nolan comes here, bad. DQ comes in here, good. Now you got Eberflus in here, bad. What's the common denominator right now? It ain't all the head coaches. It's the management. They got to get it. It starts at the top.
Yes.
It does.
They've got to figure out how to get this thing right. And I've heard, we'll come back. We'll come back from break. A couple of the names we've heard here.
Uh-oh.
Some I don't know if it's really going to work, but let's dive into it next. Anthony Dorsett, Trey Moore, I'm Newey Scruggs. This is Players Lounge brought to you by Aristocrat Gaming on DallasCowboys.com.
Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Kyle Yeomans here, sharing that same team that brought you Buffalo, bringing NFL casino games that show America's team on and off the reels. Aristocrat is changing the game with a new experience. Football fans, this means you can pick your team and play your team. Check out the Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Gambling problem? Please contact the U.S. National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over.
We got big personalities. We got big hair, big belt buckles. We got fans all across this big state and enemies in every other one. We even got a big star on the 50-yard line. Smirnoff knows football is a we thing, an experience that is best enjoyed together. With good drinks and good folks home or away, we rally together. We cry together. And we always rally cry together because, most of all, we got big love for them boys. Smirnoff, we do game days. Please drink responsibly.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
Returning for the 2025 NFL season, Boss reunites with the Dallas Cowboys to drop the next chapter of their iconic collaboration. The Boss Cowboys collection fuses fashion and football once again, capturing the fearless spirit of what it means to be your own boss. Just in time for kickoff, gear up in standout styles that show your team pride with a bold edge. Available now at NFLshop.com/HugoBoss, HugoBoss.com, and Boss retail stores. Hashtag be your own boss.
Back to the Players Lounge.
The Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year Award, presented by Nationwide, recognizes NFL players who have exhibited excellence on the field and who is passionate about impacts on lives extending beyond the game. Help Dallas Cowboys club winner Solomon Thomas raise funds for the defensive line by casting your charity challenge vote at NFL.com/Man of the Year or tweeting use hashtag WPMOY challenge. Please go vote for my boy Solomon Thomas. He has been doing this, and it is a good thing that he is finally getting his recognition.
Solomon Thomas definitely is an impactful man off the football field and what he's been trying to do here. So we definitely appreciate all the work that Solomon's done in bringing awareness, suicide prevention, and people getting mental health. So we wish Solid well. Go ahead, Trey.
I want to ask you one quick question. I know you was about to bring something up. With them mentioning, obviously you got to mention the 3 big-headed guys, Osa, Kenny, Clark, and Q. Solomon, he's on a 1-year deal, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I wonder where does he stack up in the free agency totem pole, because we got a big, and maybe I'm jumping too ahead of it or something like that, but we got a big dosage of the other interview the other day where they were saying, hey, this guy's important, this guy's important. Yeah. Like, for him having the impact he had in the community and being a good role player and consistent before you got those other guys in, does that hold any weight?
So no one at the presser yesterday asked about that, or even in the walk-off asked about Solomon Thomas. And
That sucks. You're Walter Payton Man of the Year and a good contributor. No, and maybe that's just me being biased.
Yes, you're being biased because at the same time, what you're talking about here is who's going to be D-line coach. Are you bringing back Aaron White-Cotton? I mean, you're talking about 3 dudes under contract that they have high expectations for. Solomon Thomas he's a contributor.
I got you.
And if they want to bring back Aaron White-Cotton and the next DC says, hey, look, this guy fits me, or as you well know, because you played played D-line in the league, there are going to be certain guys, a D-line coach is going to gravitate, hey, this guy knows what it is I want to do. Yeah. So Solomon Thomas clearly is a guy that had a connection with White-Cotton. They were with the Jets. Mm-hmm. Who's to say this next defensive coordinator and D-line coach, if they make a change with White-Cotton, they move differently. Yeah. So I think some of his fate will rest a little bit in the decision-making of who comes in.
And by the way, guys, Solomon Thomas is under contract for next year. He signed a 2-year deal last year for $6 million.
Okay, my bad. Well,
so he has 2026.
And you know what? I was going to say next thing, Solomon Thomas is a good football player.
Yeah.
And a good citizen. So, boom, there we go. So we got no worries about that. Yeah. Aaron White-Cotton, I do wonder what they will do there. I think he's a good football coach, but if you're going to bring in a coordinator, you do have to have the conversation with the coordinator. Are you allowed to bring in the people you want to help implement your system? DQ was able to do that. He had good success with that. Go ahead, Anthony.
I think, and this is just me, and we've spoke about this in the chat, and you guys heard me say this already. I think, like, the whole defensive coaching staff could be questionably up for replacing at this point in time. I mean, because, like, regardless of what Eberflus and you said, like, they want a coach to come in here and be able to teach the players and be able to communicate with them. Once it comes from the DC, we all break down and go into our individual meeting rooms, and from there, your position coach has to be a teacher, regardless of the lack of what your DC then gave you in the meeting room or whatever. It's for your position coach, and like I know, to clear up and to fill in all those gaps. Yeah. And so what I'm seeing and what I'm recognizing here is that the teaching level and what was going on in those meeting rooms was not being communicated on any level to anybody.
So you saying get rid of everybody?
Hey, man, I'm saying, like, and that's part of a culture change and shift too as well sometimes.
No.
You know what I mean? Fresh blood, new energy, and just a whole new face for the program.
He's Anthony Dorsett. That's Trey Moore. They're former NFL players. I'm Newey Scruggs. This is the Players Lounge brought to you by Aristocrat Gaming on DallasCowboys.com. So the Cowboys do need a new defensive coordinator. They let Matt Eberflus go. So names that have been mentioned here: Brian Flores, who's with Minnesota. Brian Flores right now is apparently up to be interviewed for the Baltimore Ravens head coaching job. Right. He is a former NFL coach, was with the Patriots, won Super Bowls here. So the Cowboys could have him on their list. They did not say any names yesterday at all. Raheem Morris, recently fired by the Atlanta Falcons, is a name that has been out there. Jonathan Gannon, who was fired as the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals, former Philadelphia defensive coordinator that helped them go to the Super Bowl that lost to Kansas City. His name is out there. Jim Leonard, his name was brought up at the press conference. Brian Schottenheimer knows Jim because Jim played on the Jets teams when he was the offensive coordinator there. And then I brought up to Shotty about Dennis Thurman, former Dallas Cowboy defensive back. Here, Thurman's Thieves, Shotty and DT coached together at USC, and they coached together with the Jets. You start talking about a teacher, Troy Polamalu was a guy that he had down there. Ronnie Lott was a freshman when DT was an older player at USC. Ronnie followed DT around. You talk about Ed Reed. You talk about Darrelle Revis. These are players that Dennis Thurman has coached. Deion Sanders, he's coached him. Ray Lewis, he's coached him as a defensive coordinator with the Jets and the Buffalo Bills. There's a guy, when you talk about we want high energy, we want a teacher and a communicator, Shotty did admit Dennis Thurman could do that. So these are just 5 names right here that we're talking about. Could they bring someone else in? Obviously they could. But they've got to go get somebody to improve the defense and be better than Matt Eberflus was.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think that list, that was an impressive list, and I think that a lot of those guys that I'm seeing is the leader.
Oh, 8 and Dirty, by the way. Former 8 and Dirty, former D-line coach here who's now with Seattle. He's technically their defensive coordinator, but he doesn't call the defense, so there's another name.
See, a lot of these guys are leaders of men, and you're starting to see, I feel like a lot of those guys share the same coaching qualities that Shotty has displayed of being a leader of men, being high energy, but being very well knowledgeable and having the experience behind them. And so to shake it up, you gotta really shake it up. And to get back to what we were talking about earlier, I do believe that sometimes you do just got to clean everything, and like you got to give the DC majority of the control. But I feel like all DCs, when they're coming in, they have their guys, but most people usually always keep one guy on staff because that one guy on staff has to know the players that they already have right now. Hey, we're going to trust your opinion. Like, everything sucked, but we need you to tell us about the diamonds in the rough that are on the back end, the guys that need to develop and stuff like that. And also with the schematics that we're bringing in, hopefully, you know, like with a guy like Dennis, he's not going to have that trouble when you come in here and say, hey, I coach Ray Lewis and guys like that. Right. But some other guys, there's going to be like, man, knowing who you could have had, that's where you have the backlash. And so where you ease that bridge is keeping somebody on staff currently that can say, hey, I can tell you the difference between last year, Eberflus defense, and what we got right here and how this is going to change. And that guy is whoever they trust in the locker room. So I know that was very long-winded. I want to ask you, who on this defensive staff, Newey, with you being in there, who's that guy where players are like, hey, man, you know what? I don't care what's going on with the DC. Like, I trust this guy and his opinion.
Defensive line coach Aaron Whitecott has that respect. I mean, Quinnen Williams, who they really do like Quinnen Williams here in terms of his leadership and the things that he brings. So I think that's going to be a conversation that whoever they bring in as a DC, and you know, I don't even know if Aaron is going to be somebody they look at as in terms of a DC, so that they could do that as well. But I think that's the kind of guy that they would look to say, hey, can you interview him and let's see if there's a fit.
Yeah, I you know, like with this right now, you got to hit the ball at the park. You got to get it home run, grand slam, whatever you want to call it. And at this point, you mentioned some of those names. Everybody on that list has not been to DC before. So, like, if you ain't been to DC before, you ain't had the responsibility of being a DC. I don't think Jim Leonard has ever been to DC.
Not at the NFL level. The collegiate level he has. But they did say at the press conference that was not a prerequisite.
So for me, I'm looking at somebody that's done it and been successful at doing it. Okay, like you could have been a great position guy, and in college you could be a DC in college too as well. But at this level, I want to see somebody who has, you know, basically, as they say, earned their chops as far as, you know, getting it done at this level. I don't want to where this team has been through already. With the past 4 defense coordinators, you can't really leave a whole lot out the question about how it's going to look or how it might go. If you have a guy like DC, like, you know, Dennis Thurman, who's been doing it for years, has been successful, you could basically look at his track record. You could see what he's done over the years and see how his defenses are going to go. I think that's going to be more of a benefit than right now than giving a guy an opportunity to come in here and maybe, like, let's see how it works, and let's get it cracking right off the rip.
Let me ask you this question, AD. Why do they not lean more towards players, former players who are coaches? The greatest coach in this franchise's history was an outstanding defensive back named Tom Landry. Played in this league. That when someone, and said, you guys are players. When somebody sits here and tells you, hey, man, you need to put your back foot over here and you need to be looking over, there's a whole different kind of jam when you know this dude has stepped on this field and played at this level. That's kind of something I do wonder about sometimes when I see what's going on here.
That's been a question to me about this building since I stepped foot up in here. And unfortunately, you know, I had the opportunity to pay for the Raiders. And once a Raider, always a Raider. But Al Davis had this open door policy to the point where, like, you be at practice and you look over here and you might see Jack Tatum. You might see Jim Otto. These old name greats.
Phil Villapiano sitting up here talking to him.
Anybody that you can imagine that played for the Raiders would be at practice. And then if you were that type of player to not be shy or whatever and just really go over there and start asking questions, you know they was going to give it to you. Right. There was never a guy that came through that building and said, hey, man, I can't help you out right now. And so here, there have been days I come up in here and I walk past Everson Walls. I mean, Nate Newton does the show before we do it. You know what I mean? And so when you have like any type of situation that is going on where you're teaching situational football, like you said, there is no better teacher. None. There is no better teacher than somebody who has actually done it and done it at a high level.
High level.
You can't replace that. And so I've had good coaches who didn't play the position, and I don't take anything away from them. But to have those guys who have actually put that foot in the ground, like you said, they know how your body going to feel when it's coming out that break, or what you're going to have to do when you need to reach with the wrong hand, because they know that the right hand ain't the right hand at that time. Yeah. You know, it's things like that that are priceless, that can't be taught by people who have not done it.
Yes, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. And to answer the question, well, because you say two interesting things there. To answer the original question of why you don't see as many players, like, I'm going to call a spade, and I'm not talking about this organization. I'm talking about as a whole. The NFL is an ego-driven league. It is. At some point in time, what always happened with great franchises or organization, there is discontent between the head coach, the GM, or the owner, because somebody think that their role is too bigger than what it really is. And sometimes it's like, hey, you got to ask yourself, when I'm hiring this guy, is he going to run it the way that I want to run it? Is he going to run it the way that I'm going to let him run it? And if I let him run it, if I trust his leadership, cool, that's doing that. But to bring a player in, say, I'm going to bring in a defensive line coach who just got done playing. The players respect him. He's relatable. But you have a guy that is the defensive coordinator or the head coach. I'm cautious with bringing him in, because are you going to undermine me? Are you truly exhibiting the qualities that AD is talking about by coaching them up in certain things that I just can't see, and being relatable, to where now what happens? The one moment that I call something wrong or do something and it sounds idiotic, then it's like, oh, let's not listen to this guy because he hasn't played, so we're going to listen to this guy. And then now, guess what? They're no longer respecting you, and they're going to the guy right here. So with certain coaches and personnel people, ownership, whatever the case may be, whoever that falls up under that umbrella, guess what gets into play? Am I confident enough to where I say I can still run this and they can go in there and let their light shine? And if you can't, that's why you say, hey, hold up the horses. Good because point. Players are going to do what are we going to do? This is the players' lounge. It's our loyalty to each other. So how many times have you told somebody, hey, maybe you should take less money because that's a better situation over there. Play a better technique over there because, yes, he's telling you that for this system, but I'm going to tell you what's going to look good to 28 other people to get you paid at the end. And now what's good for the players, not always necessarily good for the organization.
It's just interesting because you think about Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy played in this league. Tony Dungy was on a Super Bowl team. Kellen Moore is coaching New Orleans, and I think he's done a nice job with a very tough roster and situation. Kellen played in this league. It's just interesting. Not that you have to have it. I mean, Nick Sirianni didn't play in the league. Andy Reid didn't play in the league. They've been successful coaches, but you have an opportunity to bring in someone like a Dennis Thurman, who played in the league, coached in the league, coached Hall of Famers in the league, played here.
Yeah.
And it's just interesting because when Jason Garrett got here, Jerry played that up very much. And Jason was on Super Bowl teams here. When Wade was hired, he talked about how Wade had experience in Texas. So it's just interesting sometimes of what we use for certain players or as coaches that Jerry wants to, and then others like, well, what are we doing here? But anyway, we got to take our final break. When we come back here, Javonte Williams was a name that I brought up at the press conference yesterday, and I was surprised at what they said about him. And we'll talk about it next week. Players Lounge brought to you by Aristocrat Gaming on DallasCowboys.com.
It's game day at Raising Cane's. If you want to order like a champ, it's the action off the field you need to focus on. The only play you're running is chicken. So what combo are you picking? Make it a perfect season. We've got tailgates of hand-battered, cooked-to-order chicken fingers and cane sauce, and jugs of freshly made tea and lemonade. All available to order online or on our app. This season is about to be unbeatable. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, one love.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
Hey there, Cowboys Nation. Kyle Yeomans here, sharing that same team that brought you Buffalo, bringing NFL casino games that show America's team on and off the reels. Aristocrat is changing the game with a new experience. Football fans, this means you can pick your team and play your team. Check out the Cowboys-themed casino games developed by Aristocrat, a proud sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. Gambling problem? Please contact the U.S. National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-GAMBLER for 21 and over.
Hey, Cowboy fans. Keith Davis here, former Cowboys safety.
Keith Davis into the end zone.
You know what separates champions from the rest? Making the right move at the right moment. With blockchain.com, that's never been easier. The Cowboys became America's team by striking bold when it mattered most. Now it's your turn. Invest like your icons with blockchain.com. Visit blockchain.com/Cowboys today to get started and learn more. That's blockchain.com/Cowboys.
Back to the Players Lounge.
Cowboys Nation, Tom Gibson has been named your 2025 Dallas Cowboys Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan, for his dedication to the team and spicing up the game. Vote for Tom to be named the ultimate NFL Fan of the Year at NFL.com/Fan of the Year.
Demontre Moore here. Got Anthony Dorsett, two former NFL players. I'm Dewey Scruggs. This is the Players Lounge, brought to you by Aristocrat Gaming. Barry Church with the day off. So at the press conference yesterday, I asked Stephen Jones, what is your strategy in terms of bringing back Javonte Williams, who's going to be a free agent, outstanding year as a running back? And I said also the strategy from the standpoint, you were there at the top of the market and paying Zeke. Mm-hmm. And then, so they know what it's like to overpay and also have a head coach come in who decide he want to be a passing coach like McCarthy, which made doggone Ezekiel's contract look even worse than it was. And so he said getting Javonte Williams is a priority. He said he started a conversation with the agent, and the agent says that he wants to be here. So hopefully he says they can make a deal.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to make a deal. Anytime that you go somewhere, being a free agent, I've been on multiple teams. Like that one team that comes out there during free agency and takes a chance off of you, especially coming off an injury. I was fortunate enough to tear my quad, then go over there and the Raiders believe in me and say, hey, let's do this. It's like, hey, you want to give them a discount, one, because it's Dallas, the market that you're in, but two, the team that actually gave you a shot to revive your career when the other one threw you to the side, he's going to taste that discount. The money he's going to make off the field is going to be right there, and so you're not going to overpay. The one thing that I do see from this is I see all three gentlemen up there talking about how important he is to the team and getting the job done, but also we spoke on this a lot of times, no buyer's remorse. So I think they're going to meet that middle ground. It's just about how much is going to be there.
Eddie?
Yeah, I think that, he definitely showed improved last year. That was one of the biggest question marks I had going into the season, and especially in the preseason, not being able to see what he was able to do. But he showed that he that he definitely deserves to be brought back. And he also did pretty well in the pass game, too, as far as run blocking and stuff like that.
Yes.
So pass protection. So that being said, you got a proven commodity in the building. Now, just like we said, do not overpay for it, though. You know what I mean? And at the same time, you still got to have a 1A and a 1B. And I think it wasn't Blue last year, but it was the Davis kid at the end of the season.
Malik Davis.
Yes, I think you definitely have to have something to complement Williams, too, as well.
I think the good thing, not to cut you off, Nui, but that's going to be going for him is that the other running backs didn't play extremely well. You didn't have a 1A, 1B. And most importantly, we talked about Rico Dowdle, we said, hey, 1,000-yard rusher, letting him get out of here, it's not that impressive. To see how well he did over there at the Panthers, I think it's like, hey, we're not going to let this go again. This is another hidden gem that we can get, and we can pay, but not overpay and not pay top dollar in the market for.
It's a shame that position has been devalued the way that it has been.
It is, but like I said, I think this is the year to leverage it with Jerry. Some of the toys that he got, he didn't get to get last year. This year, now he get to get the ones that he want at the price that he wants.
All right, so what we'll do next time around here, next week when we do the show, is dive into an area that Jerry addressed more so off the podium, and that's the offensive line. He's very much concerned with the offensive line and what they're doing here going forward. If I'm Tyler Guyton, I'm really worried about what's going on. If I am Terrence Steele, I'm worried about where I'll be playing next year, just listening to the tea leaves from the owner and general manager, Jerry Jones. Anthony Dorsett, appreciate you being here. Trey Moore, appreciate you. I'm Newey Scruggs. Thanks to Chris Beam and everybody here who makes it happen at DallasCowboys.com. This is the Players Lounge. Talk to you next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!